Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The heavy oak door of room 402 didn't just knock. It sounded like a judge's gavel sentencing me to an execution I had entirely earned. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage of bone, as I stared at the brass handle. On the other side stood the man I had hated for 15 years, the man I had vowed to destroy, and the man who was currently holding a bouquet of white lilies for a ghost that didn't exist. I had 5 seconds to decide. Open the door and let the guillotine drop, or jump from the balcony of this 4th-floor suite and hope the pavement was more forgiving than Adrian Thorne. I checked my reflection in the mirror, pale skin, eyes wide with the realization of my own stupidity, and touched the cold glass of the screen in my pocket. The message glowed, sent 2 minutes ago. I'm here, Luca. Please open the door. I wasn't Luca. I was Julian Vane, his sworn enemy, and I was about to break his heart. The animosity between Adrian Thorne and myself wasn't born. It was forged in the fires of academia and tempered in the icy boardrooms of Chicago's legal district. From the moment we were placed as opposing counsel in a mock trial during our first year at Northwestern, the universe had decided we were two sides of a chaotic coin. Adrian was ice, impeccable, wealthy, the scion of a legal dynasty, possessing a courtroom demeanor so sharp it could cut glass. I was fire, the scholarship kid, the scrapper, the one who used passion and theatrics to win cases because I didn't have a legacy to lean on. For a decade, we circled each other like sharks in a tank that was too small. He stole clients. I poached his associates. I embarrassed him in the press. He bought the building my firm leased just to raise the rent. It was a symbiotic toxicity. I hated him, but I respected him. He was the only person who made me work harder. But the Kensington merger changed the playing field. It was the deal of the century, and Adrian was poised to close it, leaving my firm in the dust. I needed an edge. I needed dirt. I needed to know what kept the Ice King awake at night. I found it in the most pathetic place imaginable, an anonymous venting app called Abyss. I hadn't intended to find him. I was trawling the app for information on a different CEO when I saw a post tagged with a location that matched Adrian's penthouse building. The username was cryptic, *Atlas_holding_nothing*, but the syntax was unmistakable. The grammar was too perfect, the cynicism too precise. The weight of expectation is not heavy because of the burden, but because those placing it on your shoulders wait eagerly for your knees to buckle. It was Adrian. I knew it in my gut. It was the same pretentiousness he displayed in his closing arguments. So, I did something indefensible. I created a profile. Luca. I crafted him to be everything Adrian wasn't. Soft, artistic, unthreatening, a listener. I initiated a chat, expecting to fish for a week, find a weakness, a gambling addiction, a mistress, tax fraud, and then vanish. I typed, maybe you should stop carrying the sky and let it fall. See who stays to help you rebuild. He replied within seconds. They would all leave. Even the ones who claimed to love the view. That was the beginning. The first month was purely tactical. I was a spy in the house of my enemy. I learned that Adrian suffered from chronic insomnia. I learned that his father, the great Senator Thorne, was emotionally abusive. I learned that Adrian hated the law. He wanted to be an architect, but duty had shackled him to a desk. Every night, after a day of glaring at him across a negotiation table, I would go home, strip off my suit, and become Luca. I offered him the validation I knew he was starved for. You're allowed to be tired, Atlas. I typed one rainy Tuesday, sipping cheap whiskey in my darkened apartment. I don't know how, came the reply. If I stop, I cease to exist. Then exist with me. Just for an hour. No expectations. I told myself I was gathering psychological leverage. If I could unbalance him, make him dependent on this digital phantom, I could crush him during the final Kensington hearings. I could ghost him right before the signing, send him into a spiral. It was cruel. It was Machiavellian. It was perfect. But by the 3rd month, the lines began to blur. I started rushing home not to plot, but to talk to him. When Adrian described the loneliness of his empty glass penthouse, I felt a phantom ache in my own chest. When he confessed his fears of inadequacy, I found myself typing furiously, defending him against his own demons with a ferocity that had nothing to do with corporate sabotage. I was falling for the man I was supposed to be destroying. The cognitive dissonance was maddening. By day, I saw Adrian Thorne, the arrogant prick in the three-piece Armani suit who sneered at my opening statements. By night, I spoke to Atlas, the wounded, poetic soul who sent me photos of the sunrise because he hadn't slept and wanted to share the beauty with someone. The crisis point arrived on a Thursday. We were in the final stages of the Kensington negotiations. The air in the boardroom was stale, recycling the tension of 12 lawyers. Adrian was decimating my argument regarding asset liquidation. He looked impeccable, his silver tie knot precise, his eyes cold as steel. "Mr. Vane," he said, his voice dripping with condescension. "If you had prepared as thoroughly as you object, we'd have finished this yesterday." My team bristled. I grit my teeth. "Efficiency isn't the same as justice, Mr. Thorne. Justice is a luxury for those who can afford the billable hours," he shot back. I wanted to strangle him. I wanted to drag him across the mahogany table. That night, my phone buzzed. Atlas, I saw someone today. Arrival. I treated him like garbage. I stared at the screen, my heart thumping. Luca. Why? Atlas. Because he's the only one who sees me. He looks at me with this fire in his eyes. It terrifies me. So I try to extinguish it before it burns me alive. I think I hate him because I want to be him. He's free in a way I'll never be. I dropped the phone. The device clattered onto my hardwood floor. He was talking about me. Not with contempt, but with envy. With a twisted form of reverence. I picked the phone up, my fingers trembling. Luca, maybe you should tell him. Atlas. I can't. But I can tell you. Luca, I don't know what I'd do without you. You're the only real thing in my life. I need to see you. Panic. Cold, liquid panic. Luca, we agreed. No names. No meetings. Atlas. I don't care about the rules anymore. I'm drowning, and you're the raft. Please. Meet me. Tomorrow night. The St. Regis. Room 402. If you don't show, I'll delete the app. I'll vanish. But I have to know if we are real. I should have deleted the app right then. I should have walked away. I had my victory. He was unstable, distracted. I could win the merger. But the thought of him standing in a hotel room, waiting for a savior who never came, broke something inside me. I couldn't leave him alone in the dark. So here I was. Room 402. I opened the door. The hallway was dimly lit, the plush carpet absorbing the sound. Adrian stood there. He looked different than he did in the boardroom. He wasn't wearing his armor. No tie, his collar unbuttoned, his hair slightly mussed as if he'd run his hands through it a dozen times. He held the lilies like a weapon he didn't know how to use. When he saw me, his expression shifted through a complex algorithm of emotions. Confusion. Recognition. Then, a slow, dawning horror. Julian, he breathed, the name falling from his lips like a curse. What are you doing here? Did you follow me? I stood frozen in the doorway, blocking his entry. No. He looked at me, then at the room number. He looked at his phone, then back at me. His eyes narrowed, the steel returning. Get out of my way, Vane. I'm meeting someone. There's no one else, Adrian. I said, my voice barely a whisper. He laughed, a sharp, barking sound. What kind of game is this? Did you hack my phone? Is this blackmail? I didn't hack anything, I said. I pulled my phone from my pocket, unlocked it, and turned the screen toward him. The interface of the Abyss app was open. The last message read, I'm here, Luca. Please open the door. The silence that followed was heavy enough to crush lungs. Adrian stared at the screen. He dropped the flowers. They hit the floor with a soft, funereal thud. You, he whispered. The betrayal in his eyes was visceral. It wasn't the anger of a rival. It was the devastation of a lover. You are Luca? I didn't expect it to go this far. I stammered, stepping back as he advanced on me. He pushed past me into the room, the door clicking shut behind him, sealing us in. You catfished me, he said, his voice trembling with a rage I had never heard before. For months. You let me pour my soul out to you. You let me tell you about my father. About my darkness. It started as a strategy. I admitted, Knowing the truth was my only defense, however flimsy. I wanted leverage for the Kensington deal. Adrian looked as if I had physically struck him. He backed away, hitting the edge of the dresser. You manipulated me for a merger? You made me fall in love with you for a goddamn contract. I didn't make you fall in love. I yelled, the guilt converting into defensive anger. And I didn't use the leverage. I could have destroyed you weeks ago, Adrian. I know about the panic attacks. I know about the pills. I didn't say a word. Why, he roared. Why didn't you? Because I fell in love with you too. You idiot. The confession hung in the air, vibrating. Adrian stopped. His chest was heaving. What? I fell in love with you, I said, my voice breaking. I hated Adrian Thorne, the lawyer. But Atlas. Atlas is the most beautiful, broken thing I've ever known. I tried to stop. I tried to ghost you. But I couldn't. Adrian stared at me. The tension in the room shifted. It was no longer the sharp antagonism of the courtroom. It was something hotter, more volatile. He crossed the distance between us in 2 long strides. He grabbed my lapels and shoved me back against the wall. You are a liar, he hissed, his face inches from mine. I could smell the expensive scotch on his breath and the sandalwood cologne I had read about in his late-night texts. You are a manipulative snake. Yes, I breathed, looking up into his furious eyes. You humiliated me. Yes. I should kill you. You probably should. He stared at my mouth. His hands tightened on my jacket, his knuckles white. Tell me one thing. The night I told you I wanted to drive off the bridge. And you stayed on the chat until sunrise. Was that Julian or Luca? There is no Luca, I said softly. That was me. Every word. I was terrified I'd lose you. Adrian let out a shuddering breath. The fight seemed to drain out of him, replaced by a desperate, hungry need. I hate you, he whispered, leaning his forehead against mine. I know, I replied. Prove it wasn't a lie, he commanded. Prove that you want me. Not the leverage. Me. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the back of his neck and pulled him down. The kiss wasn't gentle. It was a collision. It was months of rivalry, repressed attraction, and digital intimacy exploding into physical reality. Adrian kissed like he argued, dominating, thorough, demanding absolute submission. I met him with equal force. We stumbled away from the wall, knocking over a lamp, neither of us caring as the bulb shattered. He pushed me onto the bed, his weight heavy and grounding. His hands were everywhere, tearing at my shirt, gripping my hair. It was frantic, messy, and desperate. We were 2 enemies stripping away the armor to find the skin beneath. Say my name, he growled against my throat. Not the screen name. Say my name. Adrian, I gasped. Adrian. That night, we didn't sleep. We spent hours mapping the physical territory of a relationship we had already built in the dark. It was a reclaiming. Every touch was an apology. Every mark left on the skin was a promise. The next morning, the sun filtered through the heavy curtains, illuminating the wreckage of the room. Adrian was asleep, his arm thrown over his eyes, looking younger than I had ever seen him. I sat on the edge of the bed, watching him. The Kensington deal was due to be signed at noon. We were still on opposite sides. The world still thought we were enemies. Adrian shifted, his eyes opening slowly. He looked at me, then at the scattered clothes on the floor. The memories flooded back, and his expression guarded itself instantly. The Ice King was returning. Where does this leave us, Julian? He asked, his voice rough with sleep. I reached out, resting my hand on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, the heart I had stolen and tried to protect. I'm resigning from the Kensington case, I said. His eyes widened. That will destroy your reputation. I can't be unbiased, I shrugged. Conflict of interest. I'm sleeping with the opposing counsel. A small, genuine smile touched his lips, the first one I had ever seen in the daylight. He reached up, covering my hand with his. Don't resign, he said. Fight me on it. Win if you can. And if I win, then you take me out to dinner to celebrate, he said, pulling me back down into the sheets. And if I win, I keep you. You've already got me, I murmured against his lips. We walked into the boardroom 4 hours later, separate, professional, cold. But when Adrian looked across the table at me, tapping his pen against his legal pad, I knew the code. It wasn't Morse, it was a rhythm only we heard. The rivalry wasn't over, but the war was. And for the first time in my life, I couldn't wait to lose. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf, by becoming the only thing the wolf couldn't hunt, a kindred spirit. If you enjoyed seeing Julian lose control to gain everything he ever wanted, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a rival who tricked you into love, or is some deception too deep to heal? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then,